What's up, everybody? This is Russell Brunson. Welcome back to day number 2 of the One Funnel Away Challenge. How'd you guys enjoy yesterday? I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a lot. I spent a lot of time reading through comments and messages and everything, trying to just get my hand on the pulse of what's happening, what you guys are liking, what you're not liking, and stuff like that. One comment I saw more than once, which made me feel very happy, is that people were saying, like, I cannot believe that we're getting all this for $100. Like, day number 1 alone was worth more than $100. And so that makes me really, really happy because we're just getting started. We're going deep over the next 30 days. And between, obviously, the live coaching like this, the one-pagers and the homework assignments, the live coaching, the networking inside the groups, all the stuff that we're trying to give you, the biggest goal we have is to give you guys a result, right? If you guys learn this process all the way through, I told you guys this yesterday, right? My very first time was with the potato gun. Like, this potato gun DVD was not my multi-million-dollar idea, but it taught me the process, right? After I did it once, I'm like, oh, like, that was not that hard. Right? And obviously, potato gun market's a little tiny market, but I was like, what else can I do this in? And I tried it in another market, another market, another market, and it became very, very simple. Sometimes it was me taking my ideas, my results out, and creating a funnel. Other times it was me finding experts. I found experts in the speed reading market, in couponing, in dating, in weight loss. I found those people. I published them. Took their frameworks, right? And so if you really master and learn these skills, you guys, it literally can pay you for the rest of your life. You can do it for yourself, you can do it for other people. How many of you guys know somebody who's like amazing at something? They've got all this knowledge, information, but they don't know how to do this, right? This could be your future careers, taking those people, taking ideas from their head and going through this process, launching it and splitting money with them, okay? I think when you start understanding this, like the skill set you guys are learning over the next 30 days is the most valuable skill set you can learn as far as like actual money, right? Like being an expert's great, like knowing something's good, but like when I publish somebody, when I take their knowledge, their frameworks, their information and I take it out, I pay them between 10 to 15% royalty, okay? Because the knowledge is one thing, but learning this process, this is the thing that's actually worth money. This is why you should spend so much time and energy and effort figuring this out. I remember one time, it was right after I moved to the home we live in now, and it's a nice home in a really nice neighborhood, and some neighbors invited us over to this party, and we came to this party, and we're sitting there, we're getting to know everybody, and I'm, awkward Russell, like normal, and I'm getting to know people, and there's this one guy sitting on the couch over there, and he's one of my neighbors. He's looking at me kind of funny, like, and I was like, does this guy hate me? Like, should I leave? Like, it was just, that awkwardness at a little party, and finally went over. I was like, hey, like, I'm Russell, I'm your neighbor, get to know you, and he keeps looking at me. I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I just can't figure it out. I'm like, what? He's like, how are you so much smarter than me? Now, I need to put this in perspective. This guy is a doctor. He cuts people open, opens up their bodies, and heals them with his hands. And I look at him, I was like, dude, I am not smarter than you. He's like, you make so much more money than me. How are you that much smarter? I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm not smarter than you. The only difference is that the thing that I learned how to do is worth so much more money. Like, as a doctor, he makes a lot of money, right? But the skill set he learned, there's a cap. There's like, you can only make this amount of money, right? Because it's like you're trading time for hours, right? The coolest thing for you guys is you learn the skill set. It takes you out of that like trading time for dollar things, right? Like I created these books. I wrote these books once, years ago, and they still sell to this day. They make money over and over and over again. It's not tied to me sitting there teaching every single time, right? All the things you do, like I said, this is the most valuable, most profitable skill set you could possibly learn. And so I want to put that in your guys' mind as you're going through this, because even if your first funnel flops, it doesn't work. Even the second flops, the third flops, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Okay? We talk about the one funnel away challenge. You're one funnel away from success. Like, I mean that. Like, sometimes some people, like, they do it in the very first time it's successful. Some people never get a funnel works for themselves, but they do it for other people, and they make tons of money for the other person and themselves. Like, the skill set is so huge. One of my favorite one funnel away stories, and I want to share this because I get a lot of people who talk back, like, oh, Russell, you say you're one funnel away. I tried a funnel, it didn't work. It's like, I didn't say it's your first funnel. I said you're one funnel away from success, right? And that might be the second funnel, the 12th, the 15th. One of the very first people when we first launched ClickFunnels that came to our community is a guy named Trey Llewellyn. And Trey came in and he didn't know a lot about what he was doing. He sold some t-shirts before and he was like, okay, I'm going to try this funnel thing. And he told me, he's like, I'm going to launch a funnel every single week till one of them takes off. I was like, okay, good for you, man. So he learned the process, same process you guys are learning today. He launched his first funnel. Guess what? It flopped. He did a second funnel. It didn't work. Third funnel made a little money. Fourth funnel, little. Fifth funnel, sixth funnel, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th. His 11th funnel, boom, took off. It was the highest grossing funnel we had in ClickFunnels in the shortest period of time. Now, I can't share income and stats. It's not my business. But he won 2 Comma Club X Award. So if you guys know, we have 2 Comma Club Award means 7 figures in a funnel. 2 Comma Club X means over 8 figures in the funnel, okay, in a very short period of time. But it wasn't the first or the second or the third or the fourth. It was the 11th. Okay, and so the skill set you guys are learning is a skill set, but you got to keep practicing and keep practicing and keep practicing it. Okay, a lot of you guys are sitting on the sidelines like, well, I'll do this later. Everything Russ taught day one's cool, but I don't have an idea yet, so I'm just going to wait. Don't wait. Now is the time. Just pick something. Pick potato guns, for crying out loud. Pick how to make a hamburger. I don't care. Just learn the process, because the hardest thing is just learning the process once. After I did the potato gun, I was like, oh, I can do this in any market. And it became very simple and very easy. And that's the gift I want to give you guys in the next 30 days. Give you this tool, give you this thing, because it is literally the most valuable, most profitable thing you could master. Okay? You'll learn more in 30 days than you will in college, than you will in university, anywhere else. Like people all the time, like, I went through the OFA challenge. I learned more in that 30 days than I did my entire master's degree in college. It's like, yeah, because you learned a skill set, this practical, this applicable that works today and work tomorrow and work for forever. Okay? So that's the gift I'm trying to give you guys. I hope you see that. All right. So that said, I want to dive into day number 2. Here's where we're going to start getting our hands dirty. Yesterday was a big strategy day to kind of think and brainstorm. Today and tonight, and your assignment, your hands are going to be getting dirty. You're going to be creating something, which I know for some of you guys, you're like, yes, I'm so excited. And some of you guys, your heart just dropped like, oh, I don't want to create something. Okay? But I want to put this in your mind. If you went back and you watched the How to Make a Potato Gun DVD, and you see little Russell back here 20 years ago with his shaved head and his bag of potatoes on the back here, it was bad. It was really, really bad. In fact, the way we made this DVD, after I created the framework, we went to, and we literally had like a little a video camera that we carried with us. And we went to Home Depot and we started buying the pipes. And my buddy Nate's got the camera walking around. I'm going through the pipes. I'm talking about the different pipes at Home Depot. And some guy comes up like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, oh, we're making a video to teach people how to make potato guns. Okay? Now, I'm sure you can probably guess this. Home Depot does not want people coming into Home Depot teaching people how to make potato guns. So we literally got kicked out. Right, crap, this is day number 1 of our new venture, right? And so we're like, well, what are we going to do? So we drove like 15 miles down the road to the other Home Depot, and this time, though, we were smart. We had a coat on, and we had the camera hidden in the coat, and then we walked over, and Nate's like, click record. I'm like, all right, here I am, you guys. These are the pipes. This is the PSI you need to make sure is right on the pipes. And I started doing this stuff, and he like hides the camera. And we sneak over to the barbecue igniters. Okay, this is the right barbecue igniter, and we did that, right? Then we snuck into Boise State's the college here that I went to. It was a weekend, it was a Saturday, and we went to the campus, we were walking around, and we had like all these pipes and all this crazy stuff, right? And we snuck into to one of the college classrooms. And I still remember because it was like in this huge like auditorium, right? Probably, I don't know, 200 or 300 seats in there. And there's a big, huge whiteboard. And so we got on the whiteboard, and I literally wrote our entire framework down on the whiteboard over here, but the whiteboard wrapped the whole thing. And then we set the camera up to look right here. Okay, so the camera's right here. So I could see the whiteboard, kind of like the weatherman, you know how he does with the green screen. He's like, oh, it's going to be raining in Tulsa today. It was the same thing. I could see the framework over here, but the camera just saw me. And me and Nate acted like we were like I don't know, like professors at a college. We're like, all right, let me teach you guys how to make a potato gun. And we had our whiteboard. We're like, okay, step number 1 is you have to have the right barrel to chamber volume ratio. And we wrote that down, and we seemed like we were geniuses, right? But it was just written right there. So we just kind of rewrote it as we saw it. And we taught the framework and how to make a potato gun. Okay, and it was like the dorkiest thing. Like we were awkward, we were embarrassing. The camera we had, the person when they were zooming out, they kept clicking it. They click, click, click. It sounded horrible, but it didn't matter because we did it once and we created the product. Okay, and one thing I want to kind of stress to you guys as you start going into this, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be so worried about the quality and this and that, is the key. The most important thing is not so much the quality of like the presentation as much as the quality of the information. That is the key. Okay, and I have a funny story about that. One of my when I was wrestling, when I was first getting this business, there was this guy that I follow. In fact, this day I still buy all his stuff. His name is Brooks Kubik. He's a weightlifting dude. He's awesome. And I bought his books. When I was in high school, I read him, bought all these things. But he always had these DVDs. They're really expensive at the time. They're like $50 per DVD. And I remember as a high school kid, I'm like, I can't afford $50 per DVD. Like that's insane. And so fast forward a few years later, I launched my business. I was starting to make some money, and I was like, my first binge thing I'm going to buy is all of Brooks Kubik's $50 DVDs. So I went going online, I bought them. It was like, I think there were 6 of them, so it was probably a couple $100 to buy the things. And as I'm waiting for them to be shipped to me, I'm telling my buddies, I'm like, oh, I got Brooks' DVDs. They're going to be so awesome. I was so excited, right? So DVDs show up in the mail. I'm so pumped. I get them. My friends are there like you've been talking about these for like 2 years. Like these better be amazing. Let's watch them together. So we sat down. I put the DVD in. I clicked play. And I still remember this day. It's like pitch black. We're like waiting for it to start. And all of a sudden you hear this sound. You're like, honey, I can't see you. Well, it's because you got to take the lens cap off, hon. And you see him take the lens cap off, and all of a sudden, boom, you see Brooks. He walks over to the bench, sits down, and he starts doing the bench press, right? And so that's what we just witnessed. And my buddies who were there with me start dying laughing. They're rolling on the ground. They're pointing at me like, you paid $50. And the guy didn't even edit out him taking the lens cap off the video. And they're mocking me, and I was so embarrassed, like, oh, yeah, it's like I'm going to return him. And then they left that night. After everyone left, I was like, I want to watch stuff. I went back and I watched it. And literally for me, it was the best training ever. Not because like it was the slick production and Hollywood lights and everything. It was because it gave me the things I wanted from him. I had a connection with Brooks Kubik, right? Just like your audience is going to have a connection with you. Like I didn't care how it was produced. I just wanted to hear their stories, right? And I loved it. To this day, one of my favorite products ever. So I want to get these things to your head just because it's going to help simplify it. You guys can put so much stress on yourselves, and I don't want you doing that, okay? All right, so today's session is called your flagship framework. That's what we focus on. Like the framework we're going to be focusing this entire funnel based around is one flagship framework, okay? So I'm going to recap a couple things from yesterday that should hopefully help make this make a lot of sense and make it simple, okay? All right, so the first thing, if you remember yesterday, we talked about in your business, there's always like this ultimate result, right? Ultimate result. Okay, and then underneath there, we had our core results, right? And hopefully you guys did your homework yesterday and you started brainstorming, like, what are the core results that I could possibly offer somebody, right? The core results in my business were like .com secrets, how to build a funnel, expert secrets, how to communicate inside your funnel to sell your products, traffic secrets, how to drive traffic, right? These are some of my core results that I offer people. And hopefully you have your equivalent of that. Like, here are the 4 or 5 core things that I could teach that will help somebody to get this ultimate result that I want to offer them, right? Okay, and then inside of there, we talked about, inside there you have all of these different frameworks, right? These splinter frameworks that you can teach that help people get that core result, okay? And I showed the example yesterday, like inside the .com secrets book, like there's 23 chapters, right? And each chapter is its own individual framework, right? That's the first thing I want to understand. Now, if you look at this, closely, if you were to take any of these individual frameworks, right? Like this one right here, like for example, let me open the .com secrets book. And if I open up the table of contents, I scroll through, I can take any of these frameworks like book funnels, application funnels, the OTO script, funnel audibles, hook story offer, the attractive character, like all these are different little frameworks, right? So I can take any of these and every single one of them is giving somebody a result, right? If you look at, again, just funnel audibles, like if your funnel flops, the result I'm trying to get you is to teach you this funnel audibles process. That one chapter, in and of itself, is like a little mini version of this, right? Where we showed you guys, here's your dream customer, here's the thing, they're looking for a result. Like every one of your little sub frameworks does give somebody a little mini result, right? But it's kind of like, if you heard that analogy of like you're hiking the mountain, you get to the peak of the mountain, you're like, I'm there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, there's the next peak is even bigger, and you get to there and it's like, and they keep going, right? That's kind of this is like you're giving somebody a little mini result with this framework, they get the result, but it's not the end of the path, right? There's still other things they got to do, right? All the other things they got to do to be able to get this core result, right? So that's the way you start thinking through. So that's the first step. The second step then is if you look at this, let me write this. I'm gonna write core result here so you can see it. Core result. Okay. Now, in what we're gonna be doing inside this funnel is we're gonna be building one of these, right? So here again is your dream customer. We talked about this. Who is your dream customer? And then you've got this path, and up here is the result they're trying to get. Okay, so here's a little mini version. This is the macro version, okay? So the core result, the result that we're talking about, this core result right here is the core result right here, right? So again, if you were in the .com secrets book, my core result is for you to be successful with funnels. If it's traffic secrets, is to get traffic. So that's the core result. Inside there's all these little mini frameworks, okay? If you think about that, these mini frameworks, each one of those little mini frameworks is a step here as you're moving forward, okay? I know this looks similar to yesterday, but this is like macro, micro, right? There's this little micro one where here's all the steps to create this framework, but then to get the core result, these are all of the sub-frameworks that get you there, right? So this one right here is a little mini framework. This right here is a mini framework. This one right here is a mini framework, okay? And these are all in mini frameworks, okay? Again, just like in a book. So if I look at my core result, let me do traffic secrets just to show you guys another example of this. Okay, so if I do traffic secrets, my goal with traffic secrets is to fill your funnel with your dream customers, right? So that's the core result in here. Okay, all the sub-frameworks here are all the little mini frameworks I teach inside the table of contents. Okay, so we've got who is your dream customer? Where are they hiding? Hook story offer, work your way and buy your way, and traffic you own, follow-up funnels, infiltrating Dream 100, Facebook traffic secrets, Google traffic secrets. So all these different things are little frameworks, right? So if I'm teaching somebody how to get this ultimate result, how to get traffic to their funnels, what is the very first framework I got to teach them? What's the second framework? What's the third framework? Like, these are all the frameworks I got to teach them to get this core result. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next step I want you guys to do is look at all these different frameworks you have, and what do you think of all these different frameworks, which one is the most sexy? Which one is the one that people are like, oh, I have to have that thing? Okay, if you don't know what that is, I would go talk to your spouse or your friend or somebody and say, hey, I'm helping people to get this result of getting more traffic, helping them to lose weight or whatever it is, right? And I've got these 5 or 6 frameworks I teach to help people get that result, right? I'm gonna read the titles of these 4 or 5 frameworks, and I'm just curious, based on that, which one you think is the most exciting? Like, which one do you want to go for first? Which one would you buy? And ask them, say, okay, well, there's this, and there's this, and they go through all of them, and one of these is gonna be the one that people are like, oh, that's awesome, right? In my business where I teach people how to build out webinars, right? I've got like my perfect webinar script. This is the script that someone uses to deliver the webinar. I've got, so that's one of these things. I have like my perfect webinar funnel. That's another framework, right? I have my how to get people to show up to a webinar framework. I've got how to drive traffic to a webinar framework. I've got your follow-up sequence. Like I have all these different frameworks, right? And if you did the 5-day lead challenge, I took the how to show up to a webinar. That became my lead magnet. Okay, but the sexiest thing, my flagship framework is definitely the perfect webinar. That's the one of all these things that people always want the most. Like, this is it. Like, this is the perfect webinar. And so because that's the sexiest, most exciting framework, that's what this entire funnel is going to be built around. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's not necessarily the thing that's the first in line, but it's the thing that's the most exciting. Whenever I'm selling something, I want to figure out like what's the most exciting, the most sexy thing people want the most. That's what I'm going to create the entire funnel around. Okay, so for you, what is your sexiest framework? Of all the different frameworks that you have that give someone this core result, which one is the sexiest? Which one is that? And that's what I want you guys to figure out first. Okay? Do you guys know what that is? It's going to be part of your assignment tonight, so don't stress if you're not sure. But I want you to think of that. What is your perfect webinar? What is your thing? Okay? And again, it's going to be, it might take a little bit of brainstorming, it might take a little bit asking people some questions, but that's the key, is figuring out the most sexy thing, because that's what we're going to be building everything around. Okay? All right. That's number one. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is after you have this framework, this is the one, this is my perfect webinar, this is whatever your thing is, the most sexy one, most sexy splinter framework that gives someone the core result. Okay. Now it's like, how do we structure that? How do we teach that? Like, what does that look like? Okay. And there's different ways to do it. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to flip this over and show you guys a couple ways. The first thing is I can take my framework, I'll make it blue. So I can take my framework, right? And I can teach this framework in 5 minutes, right? I'm curious if you could do the same thing. Like, take any of your frameworks, like you teach it in 5 minutes. Like, I could teach a perfect webinar in 3 to 5 minutes, right? I can say, okay, this is how the perfect webinar works. Number 1, you have to tell your intro story. You tell your origin story. Number 2, you tell secret number 1, which is this, secret 2. I could teach it in 3 to 5 minutes, right? So that's the first way that I can take my framework, okay? Now, the second thing is that I could take that same framework that I teach in 5 minutes, but I could extend it, right? I could extend it. Instead of teaching it just in 5 minutes, I could probably teach the same thing in 1 hour, right? And so I teach the same framework, and I teach it in 1 hour. 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? In 1 hour. Does that make sense? And I can take the same thing, and I keep bulking up. So the thing I want to teach you guys is, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. There's a quote I used to say all the time that kind of leads this. So the thing you have to understand is that people will spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. Let me say it again. People will spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. Okay, so I can teach this framework, and let's say I put it on a YouTube video, right? So this becomes a YouTube video where I'm like, hey, here's my 6 steps to getting 6-pack abs. Step number 1 is this. Step number 2, step number 3. In 3 minutes, I can teach my 6-step process, right? Okay, and that's free. It's on YouTube. No one's going to pay me for that because it's free. Okay, but at the end of it, I can say, look, if you want to get my detailed 1-hour explanation showing you guys this framework in more detail, then go over to Russell's Cool 6packabframework.com, right? They come over here and it's like, hey, I'm going to teach you this framework in a 1-hour presentation, right? And so it's long. Now, it's the same framework, right? But people are going to spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. Okay, so they come over here, and now they come to your funnel, and they see it right here. They see you selling the framework, and they're going to buy it for $7, right? It's a 1-hour version. Okay? Now, my next question is like, well, how do I take this 1-hour version? How do I bulk it up so that it becomes bigger, right? We talked about yesterday, like the 1-hour version is you giving them like, here's the done, the do-it-yourself, right? Here's the framework. I'm going to teach it now. I'm going to give it to you, and you have it, right? The next evolution of that now is like, okay, how do we take that and make our done with you version, right? And so all we do is we take these different steps, right? We take module number 1, the first 10 minutes that we teach in a 1-hour version, and that becomes like module number 1, right? And then module number 2, module number 3, module 4, 5, 6. So now I'm taking this 3-hour version, I'm breaking it down into 6 hours. I kind of want to pause really quick. Is that okay if I pause at home? I want to reteach this part because I feel like I'm missing it a little bit. It's so simple, but I'm not explaining it perfectly. Instead of me re-recording this tomorrow, you guys cool if I step back and go back in time 5 minutes and make it a little simple for you? That'll make it easier on my team and me. All right. By the way, this is the benefits of you guys seeing this live. You get to see me do all the pieces live, and hopefully it gives you guys faith if you mess up in one of your trainings to edit it as well. Okay. Okay. Give me 10 seconds, and I'll be ready to kind of recap this. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna figure out what is the sexiest framework. Of all the frameworks we have, what is the sexiest thing? Okay, now this framework is gonna be the thing that we sell. Okay, now I want you guys to understand a principle. It's gonna help make this so much simpler, okay? This is the principle. People will spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. Let me say it again. People will spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. Okay, the first time I understood this, it was when I read the book, Think and Grow Rich. How many of you guys read the book, Think and Grow Rich? Okay, I actually never actually read it, but I wanted to. I went to an event, and people were like, you need to read the book, Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go buy the book. So I bought the book, Think and Grow Rich, and I was gonna read it, and it sat by my bedside for like months. I never did. Went to another event, someone's like, you need to read the book, Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna need to read that. Went back, I was gonna read it, and never got to it, okay? And it happened for like 6-7 months. Finally, I'm like, I need to read this book. Everyone keeps talking about it. I got to figure it out. And so what's interesting is when I bought the first version of the book, I bought it on Amazon for $10, right? And I was like, okay, I need to read this book. Let me go figure out a different way to consume it. I remember going to eBay at the time. I still have an eBay obsession. But I went to eBay. I typed in Think and Grow Rich audio CDs. And I found someone selling the audio version of Think and Grow Rich for $97. Okay, so I bought it. It came to me. And I started taking the CDs. I started putting in my car. And as I was driving around town, I listened to the entire audiobook Think and Grow Rich. Okay, now what's interesting is I paid $10 for the book. I spent $100 on the CD. Now, is there any difference between the $10 book and the $100 CD? No, they're literally word for word the same. Okay, but I was willing to spend 10 times more money because the way it was delivered was different. Okay, so people spend more money for the same framework packaged in a different way. This is the key you guys have to understand. Okay, because you have this framework right here. There's a lot of different ways you can package it. Okay, this most simple, the easiest way to package it initially is just giving away for free, right? So think about it this way. Like, let's say you took this framework, whatever your framework is, could you teach that framework in like 3 to 5 minutes? Pretend like you're gonna be on a YouTube video, okay, I gotta teach my framework in 3 to 5 minutes. Could you do it? It's not that hard, right? You take your framework, and that's the very first step, right? You do the 5-minute version. All you do is take in this framework, you teach it, and boom, that becomes now a YouTube video, right? Now it's okay, that's the free version. Someone watches that, but like, what if they want more? What if they want something bigger? Say, okay, I'm gonna teach the same framework, but instead of just doing it in 5 minutes, I'm gonna bulk it up. I'm gonna go a little deeper. I'm gonna show you guys more information on each step in the process. So instead, what you're gonna do is go and make a 1-hour version, okay? So here's a 1-hour version. Now again, the 1-hour version, it's the same framework. Just here I spent, in 3 to 5 minutes, I might have spent a minute on each step in this journey, right? But in the 1-hour version, I have a chance to spend more time. So now in the 1-hour version, I can spend maybe 10 minutes here, 10, and after all 6 steps in my framework, it takes me 1 hour, and now I've got a 1-hour version, right? It's the same framework, but it's bulked up. I've spent more time, I have more information, more case studies, things like that, and now it's worth more, right? So over here, the 3 to 5 minute YouTube video, someone's not gonna pay for, but over here, I could sell this. This is now a product, right? Same framework, but packaged in a different way, okay? Now, for the intents and purposes of this challenge, as you guys will see, this 1-hour version, we're gonna be selling this now for, right in here, for $7. Okay, this is your $7 version of your framework, okay? All right, now, the next question, okay, this is the framework. This is me giving it to them. They have the information, they can go do it on their own. How do I take the same framework and package it in a different way? Okay, well, I could take that. Let's say I do the same thing and say, okay, instead of doing it in 1 hour, what if I did it in 6 modules? Okay, and instead of spending just 10 minutes teaching this, what if that whole thing became an hour-long module, right? So now, instead of just that, now I'm saying, okay, my 6 steps in my framework, this is gonna be module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, module 5, module 6. Now, what's the difference between this and this, right? Well, this is 10 minutes on this first concept. Here I spend an hour. Okay, I can spend way more time. I can go deeper. I can show more case studies, more examples, more steps. I can really help people at a different level, right? That's the next tier. Okay, now if you're like, how do I take the same framework? How do I give people even more value on top of that? And actually, let me step back. So the pricing on this for the 6-module version, this would be something like, I don't know, $97 to $297 or more, right? This is like the done with you version. Here's this thing, we're doing it together, right? It's more expensive. And then the last step here is like, okay, well, let me take that and go to the next level. Instead of me just teaching with you, what if I just did it for you, right? And this is like, what if I helped you implement these frameworks? So we're working together, either through coaching, whatever, and I just work with you, right? Or done for you. And this could you sell from anywhere from 1,000 to 100,000 or more, okay? Now, I want you to understand, right? Did anything change? No, it's the same framework. It's just packaged in a different way. And somebody's like, well, Russell, that's not real. It doesn't actually work, okay? But guess what? It does. How many of you guys have ever bought this book? Whoosh. This is called .com Secrets. You may have heard it before. Okay, this book is $9.95 shipping and handling. Okay, you get this book, you read through here, and this is like all my frameworks, right? About how to build a funnel. There's tons of them in here. You read this book, and this is amazing, right? Guess what's happening during the One Funnel Away Challenge? We're taking these same frameworks, right? But we're doing it different over 30 days, so it's worth more money to you. Okay, same frameworks packaged in a different way. I remember the very first time I showed this to somebody, it was after I launched this book, and after someone bought the book, at the time I had an inner circle that we sold for $25,000. I remember somebody bought the book, they read it, they're like, this is amazing. They saw our inner circle, they paid $25,000, and when they showed up, I told them, I said, look, I want to explain this concept to you guys, okay? The things we'll be covering in inner circle, we paid me $25,000 to do. I'm literally only going to be talking about things that are in this book. I'm not making up new frameworks, talking about new things. Like, we're just implementing the things that you already read about. That's it. Same frameworks packaged in a different way. $10, $25,000, but the way it was delivered was differently. Okay, so I want you to understand that because that's what happens. That's how we make more value out of these frameworks, okay? So I can take this, I can make a 3 to 5 minute YouTube video and it's free. I can make a 1-hour version, it becomes my $7 product. I can create a 6-module version, it becomes my home study course, my $297. So I create a done-for-you version or a coaching program, it becomes more expensive. But it's the same framework packaged in different ways. Does that make sense? So that's why we call this your flagship framework. It's something that you're going to be using over and over and over again, and it's got to be something you're excited by, okay? All right, so I want to explain that. Now, a couple... Let's see. There's so many things I want to talk about. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is the next question people ask me all the time is like, I have this framework. Russell, this is my first time teaching or coaching. I don't know how to, how do I teach somebody a framework? I don't know how that works, right? And so I want to show you guys my framework for how to teach frameworks. What? Russell, are you literally teaching me one of your splinter frameworks inside of this other framework? Yes, I am. That's how the whole game is played, okay? So a framework and how to teach frameworks. If you've been through the 5-day lead challenge, you heard me talk about this before. But you have your framework, right? And the first time you teach a framework, it's going to be weird because you're like, I've never taught this before. I don't know how to teach. Or maybe you are a teacher, you taught in the past, but you're probably going to do it wrong, okay? And I had to learn this the hard way. I did it in a very embarrassing way, okay? When I got started in this game, 18, 19 years ago, after I was learning, I started developing my own frameworks. I was sharing it with people. I had someone ask me, like, man, this stuff is really good. Do you want to come to one of our events and teach it? And I was like, yes, that would be amazing. And so this is Russell 20 years ago with a shaved head and glasses and my shirt and tie because I thought that's what business people did. I showed up to the event. I'm in a room with like 100 people. And I was like, okay, let me teach you the frameworks, the things I spent so much time mastering and learning, right? And I walk out there, I started teaching people. And I said, okay, step number 1 is this. I taught the first thing. I taught the second thing and the third thing. And what was crazy to me is I'm looking out on the audience and I see people like dozing off and people falling asleep and people like leaving to go to the bathroom. And I don't know about you, but like when you've like figured out a result, right? You put your soul, your effort, all your work into making something successful, right? And then people walk out. How does that feel? It feels horrible, right? I literally felt like that scripture in the New Testament when Christ says, don't cast your pearls before swine. That's what I felt like. Like I had killed myself to get this result, to learn it, to master it, to understand it at a level. I was giving it to them for free. Like, let me teach you this stuff because I care about you. And as I was doing this, I'm giving them like my most important things. I'm watching them as they're walking out the door. They're falling asleep. I remember being so frustrated after that. I was like, I'm not going to teach people this. Like, they don't understand the value of it. I was so upset, right? That was the first thing. And then I remember a couple weeks later, someone else called me like, hey, do you want to come speak at our event and teach your thing? I'm like, last time didn't work good, but maybe I'll do, maybe it was just the audience sucked. I'm going to try it again, right? Yes, I'm going to come. So I came again, got out in the audience. I start teaching, right? I'm teaching the first thing and the second thing and the third thing. And watch people doze off, watch people walk out. I finished the whole presentation. I was like, I must either be a horrible teacher or these people are just like, they don't understand. Right? And I remember at that point, I was like, I'm not going to teach again. Like I'm just going to go back and keep doing what I'm doing. And then I got invited one more time to another one, and it was one of my close friends. I was like, fine, I'm going to do it. Came back, same process, started teaching. Number one. Number two, people falling asleep, and I was just so frustrated. I remember getting so mad in the middle of it, just thinking about like, they only understood what I had to go through to get this for them. Like if I climbed the top of Mount Everest, I found the secret, I brought it back down, I'm like, here it is, and they're falling asleep. Like what? Do you not see what this is? You're missing it. And I remember as I'm talking, trying to teach him, and I get through the second, third step of my framework, I got so mad, I slammed my hand down on the table, right? Everyone kind of stopped and sat up, and I said, do you understand what I'm trying to share with you? I'm telling you guys this stuff is so important. Let me tell you what I had to go through to discover this for you. I started going through the first step, and I had to go through this. I bought this course. All of them sucked. I found this one piece over here. I found this piece over here. And then I had to go this, and I tested this. I spent money over here. I lost money over here. I did like all these things. And because of all of that, I figured out this thing. And if you would just listen, this will change your life like it has for mine. And everyone sat there and started listening. I said, can I start at the very beginning? And they're like, uh-huh. I said, okay, here's the first thing. I shared the very first thing, and I watched them. They're like, everyone starts taking notes, start paying attention. And that's when I learned the very first step in the framework, how to teach frameworks. The first step is you have to tell them the story about how you learned or earned it. Okay? If you don't tell them how you learned or you earned this framework, guess what? They will not respect it. They're going to doze off, they're going to leave. When you tell them the story, how you learned or you earned it, now they understand the value of what you're about to share with them. Okay? This is the pre-frame before you start teaching. That's step number one. Okay? Learning it is what you learn. I learned from this person, this mentor, about this book. I always want to give credit where credit's due. If I learn something to somebody else, I always tell them. But here's all the things I had to go through. Here's who I had to pay to learn this thing I'm about to share with you. And then, or how I earned it, through my own trial, my own error. Right? That's number one. Okay? After I've done that, after I share with them, I learn to earn, then phase number two is then I teach them the strategy. Okay? What is the strategy? Okay, well, you guys have been here with me today. Strategy is like the overarching vision, right? It's the map. Like this is where we're going. Okay? If I dive directly into the tactics, you lose people. People need the tactics to be successful. Tactics are like the step by step by step by step. But if I start with the step by step by step, they fall asleep. We lose them. Okay? I always imagine like if I was an army general and I was going to go to war, if I walk into all my soldiers, I'm like, this is the deal. You go over here, you go, and I start telling people where to go, and they're like, wait, why am I going over here? Like, just trust me, go over there. That's where you're going to go. Like, okay, and like they're going to feel like kind of weird, right? That's me showing them the tactics. If I come back and say, okay, guys, this is what's going to be happening. Our goal to win, like they're coming in here, they're here, we're going to try to flank them over here, we're going to do that, and I show the whole thing. Like, okay, I understand the strategy where we're going. Cool. Now you go here, you go ahead, and I give them the tactics. Now they're going to be bought in, so they're going to actually listen to the tactics. Okay, same reason why I don't just give you guys a bunch of one-pagers. If I gave you one page, like, here you go, there's the tactics. And you're like, wait, what? Why do I need this? Like, it's the secret. You're like, I know, but I don't understand, I don't have context. Right? Because I spend the first 30 minutes with you guys teaching you the strategy, then when you get the one page, you're like, oh, cool. Now I see why I need to figure out my dream customers. Now I understand all the pieces, and then you can actually go and do and execute on the tactics. Okay? So I always paint the picture. Here's the strategy where we're going. Then number three, this is where I start breaking down the tactics. Okay, now let me show you exactly how this thing works. I say, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. I show them the tactics. Right? And then the last step here, I've shown them tactics, then you show them like, let me show you how this has worked for other people. I show them a case study of how it's worked. Okay? That is my framework for how to teach frameworks. Now, do you guys notice as I did this, the first thing I did is I told you the story about how I learned and earned it, right? I practiced what I preached. I didn't just say, okay, here's the framework, how to teach frameworks. Number one, you have to tell them the story. Number two, I told you guys the story about how I was on stage with the pearls and swine. I told you that story because that's how I learned or I earned this framework. I led with it, and then I started moving through just like you should be doing as well. Does that make sense? Okay, now I want to show some practical examples. Like a lot of people ask me, Russell, how do you write your books? The way I write my books is the same way. This book is just a compilation of frameworks, right? If you look at any of my chapters, you'll notice you open up page to the framework. So say the framework right here is the secret formula. Guess what I do? First thing I do, I start the chapter. I tell you the story about how I learned or I earned it, right? Any chapter. If I grab a random chapter here. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Come on, flip to a chapter. Anyway, of course, the one time I need to flip perfectly. Anyway, any chapter, if you look at any chapter in my book, the very first thing I tell you the story about how I learned or earned it. Then I tell you the strategy of what I'm teaching you in this chapter. Then I break down step by step by step, and then I show a case study how it worked for me or for somebody else. I do that for chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3, and chapter 4, chapter 5, right? So that's the framework and how to teach frameworks. Does that make sense? That's how I do it when I write books. It's how I do it when I teach. Okay, when I got here today, guess what I did? I doodled out my frameworks. Guess what I've been doing? I told you the story about how I learned and earned it. Then I go and I doodle out the framework, and then I walk you through the process. Like, I'm doing it today. I do it every single day. This is how I do it. It's how the process works. How you learned, you earned it. Show them the strategy, break down the tactics, and then give them the case studies. Okay? Now, this ties into what I talked about here a second ago, right? Okay, if I'm doing a 5-minute version, I got to go fast, right? So I can't tell like a 45-minute version of my story. I got to tell like the 30-second version of the story. And I share the tactics or the strategy, the tactics and case study, right? I do it really, really quickly, right? If I'm doing an hour-long version, I got a little more time, right? I share the story about how I learned or I earned this entire framework. I go through the process, and then I teach all the steps, right? Now, as I break it to the 6 modules, it gets a little deeper, okay? Because now what happens, I take this piece right here, and now I'm going to show just the very first step in the framework. Now I'm going to show you here when I have an hour-long version, I'm going to tell you a story about how I learned or earned just that piece. And I'm going to break down the strategy, the tactics of just that one piece, right? Then here I'm going to tell you my story, how I learned or earned number 2, number 3, number 4, and that's how it works here, okay? And that's kind of how this thing works. Does that make sense? So I want you guys seen that because that's how you're going to be teaching your frameworks, okay? All right, next question that I saw people already asking after day 1, which means you're jumping ahead, which is always fun, is the question like, well, Russell, how do I know now how to teach it, but like, how do I capture? Like, how does that look? Okay, and so let me map this out for you. So here you got your framework, and there's a lot of ways you can teach this framework. And I mapped out a couple of them today. Okay, number 1 is you can just teach it. Teach it. That says teach it. Okay? And as I think about this, I was thinking about like right now, you guys are watching me, recording like cameras here, and I'm just teaching my framework, right? That's the way to do it. It's very simple. I look at Tony Robbins. How does Tony Robbins teach his? Tony Robbins is an event, and he stands on stage, and he just teaches his. That's how he does it, right? That's one way to do it. It's very simple. It's very easy. You get a camera, recorder, click record, and go. I know when I first started teaching my frameworks, it was awkward. I put on a camera, I'd be like, hi, my name is Russell. And it was awkward, right? So I remember the very first time I ever did this, when I was creating my very first course, I actually called a bunch of my buddies and my family members. I was like, I'm going to teach this result, this thing. Do you want to learn about it? They're like, oh, that'd be cool. I said, okay, come over to my house or come over to wherever, and I'm going to film. I'm going to do a 3-hour class. I'm going to film this with you guys, right? And that way I had a little studio audience with my friends, my family members. We set up a camera in the back, and I recorded, and it was like less awkward. Okay, so that's one way to do it. It's very simple and very easy, okay? Number 2, how many of you guys at home have a phone? This is called a phone. It's called a smartphone. Smartphone has many cool things in it. One of them is a video recorder, okay? This is another thing you can do. This is a little thing I bought on Amazon for like, I don't know, like $20 or something. It's a little stand. So watch this. I don't have a great surface for this, but I put this thing right down here. I grab my phone. I turn it on. I click record. I put the phone like this. I click record, and I said, hey, my name's Russell Brunson. Thank you so much for buying my brand new Perfect Webinar Secrets. You're going to love it. Now, I'm going to be walking you guys through the 7 steps of creating a perfect webinar. It's going to be so awesome. Step number 1, let me tell you a story about how I learned to earn it. Blah, 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 right? And I just talk into the phone. When it's done, I click done, and now I got a video. That can be that simple, okay? Rachel Pedersen, I don't know if you guys know her. She's awesome in our funnel hacker community. She created an entire 6-module course on her iPhone. Not anything technical, nothing. She's like, I want to prove to people you don't need all the lights and the camera and the glitz and the big old video wall, all that kind of stuff, right? You can do it with your phone. And she did. She made amazing courses, sold tons of them just on her phone. So you can do it on your phone, which is very, very simple, okay? So number 1 is teach on camera. Number 2 is just your phone. Get your phone out, right? Buy a $20 stand, get a phone, click record, and just talk, okay? Very simple, very easy to do. Number 3 is slides. Okay, you can take your framework and break it down. Slide number 1, slide number 2, slide number 3, and break it down into slides. Okay, and then what's cool about slides, there's, I remember when I first learned this back in the day, man, 18 years ago, there was this program called Camtasia. And Camtasia at the time, it made more money than anything ever. What I would do is I would learn something I wanted to teach. I turned my framework into PowerPoint slides, and I opened up my computer, and what Camtasia would do is you click record and record whatever's happening on your screen. And you hook a microphone up, and I would show my screen, click record, and it's like, hey, my name is Russell. Welcome to my new product about how to make potato guns. Click slide. And I would talk, and I'd click through the slides, and would record it. When it's done, it pops out a video where your slide presentation is done, your audio is done, and you have this thing, and it's a video. It's a product, right? And it was amazing. So to this day, we still do. There's a lot of other tools now, and in a second, I'm going to show you guys 5 or 6 different tools that do this really, really easily. Okay, but I record myself teaching my slides on my computer. And that's another simple and easy way to do it. Okay, so I don't want anyone being stressed out like, I don't know how to record things. I don't know how to do videos. Like, it's easy. Okay, number 1, set up a camera and just talk. Number 2, set up your phone and just talk. Number 3, do it on your desktop with slides. It's very simple, very easy. Okay, and you're just teaching your framework. Okay, now again, what we're going to be doing in this very first version is we're teaching the hour-long version. Okay, we're not going to be teaching the 6-day class or anything, or 6-module class. We're just taking a 1-hour version. So when I look at this, say, okay, if I'm going to take my framework, eventually, we're going to be selling this for $7. I need like a 1-hour version, okay? what's the process that's going to be the simplest for me? Is it my camera, my phone, like whatever it is? Figure that out, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight is creating the things you need to do, and then I want you to record it tonight. And some of you guys are like, oh, this is so hard, I don't know how to do it. You're going to be stressing out. That's okay. I get it. Okay, it's scary at first. When I was doing my potato gun DVD, I was so awkward and so embarrassed and like all the things. Okay, the good news is that not a lot of people bought the potato gun DVD. A lot of people are going to see this product initially, so don't stress out about it. Just do it. Just do it to get the process done. Right? You can go back later and re-record it. You can go film it later. You can do whatever. But I just want you to get these things done so we can see what happens. Okay. All right. So that's the recording part, and this is how you're going to be actually teaching the principles here inside your framework. Okay. Now, a lot of times, as you notice, I like to teach the strategy. I usually tell a story about how I learned to earn it. I teach the strategy. I might share a case study, but the tactics are harder on a video, or at least like they're easier here because if you're doing something on a computer, it's easy to record your desktop and show the step-by-step process. Okay, so one of the things I want to recommend for you guys, the tool that I've been using, you guys have been seeing me use, is called One Pager. It helps you to take these frameworks and makes it tangible. Okay, if you notice each of the one pagers I've been giving you guys, they look like this. Right here, I plug in a video. So I would say for you guys, I would teach your framework and plug the video in here of you teaching it. And then down below, you have the one pager where you can give people assignments and like break this framework down. Say, okay, what's your question number one? What's number two? And it gives them a place to kind of brainstorm out the thing that you were teaching. Okay, and you can do that very simply in one pager. Now, you don't have to do it in one pager. Your $7 product we're creating right now could just be a video. And that's totally cool. Okay, some of you guys may I like PowerPoint. I like making a PDF. That's totally cool. I'm just giving you guys one pager as a tool that makes it very simple. It makes this intangible framework into something tangible that you can give somebody. They give you money, you give them this one pager, and it's powerful. That's why I've been using them like crazy. That's why I keep recommending them. I know so many of you guys have been using them. That's kind of what a one pager is it makes it tangible. Okay, it takes your framework and makes it more and more tangible. And when we make it tangible, one of the cool things is it helps increase the perceived value. And we'll get more into this as we talk about sales, how to sell this product, but it's all about increasing the perceived value of the product. If it's just a video, it's good. If you get a video plus a one pager plus a PDF, like all these things increase the perceived value of the thing you're selling. Okay, and so one pager does a great job of doing that. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to talk about. I'm going to go back to here. Okay, I know I've dumped a lot on you guys, okay? And so I kind of want to recap this and break it down in a way that makes it simple, okay? So all of you guys, you're trying to help your clients get some core result, okay? And there are a bunch of frameworks you've created to get that. It was interesting because for a long time, I mean, obviously people have been doing this business for a long time. 12 years ago was the first time I had a chance to go to Tony Robbins' event. How many of you guys have been to Tony Robbins' event? I went to UPW. It's an event where you get to walk on fire, and it was like all this craziness, right? And I remember going and seeing Tony on stage for 50 hours. And I was like, how does he do that? He's just thing after thing after thing, and like no notes, no slides. He's just teaching, right? I remember thinking he was like a magician who just like was the smartest man in the world. And he is. He's a genius. He's one of my. He's a friend now, and he's someone who's amazing. But I remember watching him. I was like, that's so cool how he did it. Then fast forward a couple months ago, my wife and I did a virtual version of UPW, and we had our kids come. In fact, we sat in this room and we watched it, which was really cool. And it was interesting because I got the workbook, and as he started teaching, I realized that the title of his event, Unleash the Power Within, that is his core result. I'm going to teach you guys how to unleash the power within, right? Like that is where the impossible becomes possible. Like that's what his big result is, okay? And so that was what he was leading with. That's the big result, is you're going to unleash the power within where the impossible becomes the possible. So we sat down with the kids, we started going through the training, and as Tony got up to teach, I noticed he started talking, and the first thing he did is he started teaching one of his frameworks, right? It was one of these core frameworks. And I was taking notes, but I remember on the homepage, my first page in my notebook, I said, hey, that's a framework. Interesting. So I wrote down just the name of the framework. The name of the framework was the 3 levels of mastery. I said, cool. He just taught through framework, right? So Tony's like, okay, I'm going to pull 3 levels of mastery. Pulled it out. Boom. He's like, I got an hour to teach this session. Boom. He's like, I'm going to teach it. So we went through. He said, okay, let me first tell you the story about how I learned or I earned it. Let me teach you the strategy. I'm going to walk you through the tactics. I'm going to show you a case study of it. And he taught that for like an hour. Then he shifts to the next framework. He said, okay, now I'm going to teach you my 3 mandates of leadership. And I was like, that's another framework. I wrote it down, right? And then he went through. He said, okay, here's the hour-long version of that. He sat down and he started teaching it. Boom. 3 mandates of leadership. Here's step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. How would I learn and I earned it? Strategy. And he went through the whole thing. Then he got the next thing, success cycles. That was his next framework. Then another framework. And that day, these are all the frameworks he shared on day number 1 to get people this result, right? So it's the 3 levels of mastery, 3 mandates of leadership, the success cycle, the 3 decisions that change your life, the 3 patterns of focus and meaning, the 2 primary fears, the 3 ways to grow a business, the 2 master skills, the 3 forces of creation, the 3 chunks of practical psychology, the 3 things that cause suffering, the triad, the 3 molders of meaning, the 6 human needs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 frameworks he taught on day number 1 of his live event. And then day number 2, the same thing, and day number 3, day number 4. Okay, and that's how Tony's able to get there and speak, is he knows his frameworks, okay, to get somebody this core result. So for you in your business, you have to understand, like, what is the core result that you're trying to get for somebody? Okay, what is that core result? Then what are all the frameworks you've created that can get somebody that, right? That's what this is all about. You have all these different frameworks. Now, we've listed these frameworks. Here's all the frameworks to get some of that core result. What is the sexiest one? That's what we're focusing on right now. I'm not having you do this for 20 or 30 or 50 or 100, okay? In the future, we're going to do more of them. For today, you're picking one. What is the framework? Again, I keep calling it your flagship framework. What's the flagship framework? The sexiest, most exciting, the one that people are going to like the most. And we're going to pull that one out. And right now, we're creating this. We're creating the 1-hour version. Okay? This is your assignment for today, is to create the 1-hour version. Okay? That means taking this thing and actually stepping out. Okay, what does it actually look like? What's step 1 in the process? Step 2, what's step 3, what's step 4? Okay? Now, Tony's, like, most of his are like, they're not like 50 steps. It's like the 3 levels of mastery. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 mandates of success. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 patterns of focus and meaning. The 2 primary fears. 3 ways to grow a business. They don't have to be huge, but it's like, what is your framework? Right? If you want to grow a business, Tony's got the 3 ways to grow a business. That's his framework, right? Which he actually learned from J. Abraham, right? The 2 master skills, the 3 forces of creation. Like, what are your versions of this? Right? This is how Tony does it. Guess how Russell does it? You've seen it, okay? Here's Russell's frameworks. The secret formula, hook story offer, the value ladder, the attractive character. Fun. Like, it's the same thing. You need your frameworks, okay? And so for some of you guys, it's going to be a stretch. Some of you guys have been doing this for a while. Like, oh, I have my own framework. Some of you guys don't yet. That's okay. This is the time, okay? So you can come back. What's the core result? Then what are all the frameworks you could create to help someone get that result? And then what's the sexiest one? We're pulling that one out. And the assignment today is we're going to build the 1-hour version of that, okay? Which means you're going to take it. Make sure I get it right. You're going to take it, boom, and you're going to teach it. Here's how I learned to earn it. Here's the strategy, the tactics, case study. You're going to record it somehow in a video format. You can do it by just setting up a camera and recording it, setting up your phone and doing it, or doing slides and recording on your desktop, right? After you have the video done of you teaching the framework, then you can take it and plug it into one-pager to increase the perceived value, and that's the assignment for today. Does that sound good? So I'm going to have my team pull up the one-pager here behind me. And so you guys can see what it looks like. So when you guys come here, this is day number 2, your flagship framework, okay? This video here, when you watch this is me going to be walking you through the actual tactics, right? Again, we talked about strategy today. This is the tactics. When you come down here, you're going to see, let's scroll up a little bit. So this is kind of what we're talking about, right? Okay, here's the result you're offering somebody. And stop right there, okay? And then this is the sexiest one. You're going to pull the sexiest one out. That becomes your flagship framework, okay? All right, and let's come up here a little bit more. So question number 1, what is the core result that your sales funnel is going to create for your dream customers, okay? So what is the core result? That is where we're starting at. What is this core result you're going to offer someone? So put that down right here, okay? Brainstorm that, okay? Number 2, after you have the core result, then over here, so okay, what is the splinter framework that is the most sexiest to become your flagship framework? What is the one? What is your version of perfect webinar, right? What is the one that's most exciting that we're going to be building this entire funnel around? Okay, you're just going to pick one. Okay, so what's the sexiest one? From there, now we need your framework outline. What are the steps in your framework, okay? To get that result of your flagship framework, what's the first step they got to do? What's the second? What's the third? What's the fourth? What's the fifth to get that result? Okay, so what are the steps in their framework? Okay, if you teach that, then I want you to think through it. Okay, with this framework you just created, if you were to map this out, if you're going to teach it, all right, number 1, how did you learn you earned it? Think back, like, what was, like, why were you so excited by this thing? What was, like, how did you figure this thing out, right? What's the story? Okay, and then what's the strategy? Then walk through the tactics and the case study. Okay, so you're going to be filling that out. And that's going to give you guys kind of the brainstorming to have everything you need now to start building your framework. Okay, let's scroll up a little bit higher. And then down here are some things to help you, okay? Now, number 1, Jim Edwards made something really exciting for you guys. Some of you guys are going to be horrible at naming your frameworks. You're like, this is my framework for 6-pack abs. Not good. This is my framework to make more money. That's horrible, okay? So Jim made some cool software. You click here. It's going to help you guys to actually name your framework. He's going to ask you a bunch of questions. You click a button. It's going to pop out like 500, I don't know, maybe 100 different versions of different titles for your framework. This helps you make frameworks that are sexy and exciting, okay? Which is a really cool gift. So thank you, Jim, for making that for everybody. So do that. If you want your one-page account, again, you can create your very first one-pager for free. That's how you go and get it. But this is the demo video of me actually building out a one-pager. So if you're like, I don't know how this works, click here, watch the video of me building out a one-pager, and you're like, oh, that's actually pretty cool, okay? And then number 3, this is Dave, one of our coaches built a video showing you guys how to use desktop recording software. Remember I talked about this earlier? How you can put your slides in and just record your actual desktop, okay? And so this is the video showing you how to do it. Now, there's different software platforms you can use. In fact, if you come over here, there's a lot of them. There's Screencast-O-Matic, which I think is free, or it's like $18 a year. It's like super cheap, right? There's Ecamm Live. This one I personally use. It's more expensive though. It only works. I think it works for Macs. ScreenFlow is for Macs. Camtasia is for PCs. OBS is for PCs. That's what Jim Edwards uses. So these are 5 different products to help you to do screencasts if that's what you want to do. Okay. And again, if you decide to do Screen-O-Matic, this is. There's a video here that actually shows you how to use it, which is kind of cool. But that's just some options if you want to record the slides. I think Screencast-O-Matic is the cheapest. Some computers have it built in nowadays. I don't even know how that works. But if you do want to record the desktop, there's some options there to help make it really, really simple for you. Okay? So that's kind of the game plan. So scroll back up to the top here. So this is the one-pager you guys will be getting for today with your assignments, everything you guys need to do. Okay, and so down below, my team's gonna drop the link. This is the link where you go get this one-pager. Now again, you can have a one-pager account for free if you're just storing all the different things, okay? So it's not gonna cost you anything. Just take this, click on the save button. It'll add it to your one-pager account, and now you can keep taking notes in there and keep all your notes for every single day here inside the challenge. Make sure you're collecting all these, okay? Again, every single day in the challenge, I'm giving you guys a new one-pager. Keep collecting. That way you're gonna have all your notes over the next 30 days. It's kind of like a virtual workbook, right? Where each day I'm giving you one page of the notebook. But these pages come with videos, examples, like it's like a living book. It's kind of cool. So this is your one-pager for today. Again, the link should be down below. Okay? So again, the process from now that we're going to break, I want you guys to go do your assignment. If you get stuck, jump on the live coaching calls. We have implementation coaches are going to be on in the Facebook groups today for 2 hours from, I think, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. They're going to be in there, so jump in there, get your questions answered. Also leverage the group. Ask other people inside the group questions. Find out what they're doing. See if they have, see if they're stuck. All sorts of stuff like that. Help each other out. But that is it for your flagship framework. I hope that helps you guys. My goal for you guys, though, is to record the first one today. So that means you got to just do it. Like, take that leap of faith. It's going to be scary. It's going to be freaky. It could be horrible. That's okay. It's just doing it once. One last story, and then I'll end for today. I remember when I had a business partner and a friend, and at the time I'd create a bunch of software programs, and it was funny because he's like, how do you do this? I'm like, I just hire someone to build it. It's really easy. And for like 2 years he sat there like waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally one day I was like, just do one. Like, just hire someone to make like something stupid, like pay $10, makes like a really simple software program or something. And so I remember I sat there with him. He did it. He made one, and then after he did it once, he's like, that was so easy. I'm like, I know. He's like, oh my gosh, he knows ideas, and he ended up creating like 50 different software products. Okay, but for 2 years, he sat there waiting and waiting and waiting because he never actually had done it. Okay, my goal with this entire challenge, from the funnel to this training to everything you're doing, is just for you to do it. Okay, even if you never publish this, even no one ever sees this, just do it, because after you do it once, you're like, oh, it wasn't actually that bad. I've been stressing and worrying and freaking out for all this time, and it wasn't that bad. Okay, literally just get your phone out, even if you're just holding it, be like, hey, I'm Russell. Today I'm going to teach my framework about how to build frameworks. Hey, step number 1, you got to tell a story about how you learned it. In fact, let me tell you a story, and just do it on your phone. I don't care. Just get it out there, get it done. Take it, and if you have your one-pager, plug that video. You can pull the one-pager up again real quick. After you record it, if you're using one-pager, take the video and just plug the video in there. Boom, now the video's there. Now you've got you teaching the framework. Down below, you structure the framework, and now you've got something we can start selling. Okay? First step here is getting a product we can actually sell for page number 1 inside of our funnel. Okay? So that is it, you guys. I know it's a lot. I know it's going to be fun, but now we're getting our hands dirty. We're actually creating something. You guys are creators, which is exciting. So again, the one-page link's down below. Thanks, you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow back here. Same time, same place, and we'll see you then.